Okay, so today's video, we're going to be looking at themes of wildness and animal nature, nature itself, the forest. Queen of Pentacles and the World card. The natural cycles of life, the genesis of species, how species can sometimes go extinct, how they evolve, how bloodlines get passed down, how blood survives in the forest, in the wild, in nature. Okay, so interesting concepts that Spirit's bringing up. They showed this to me beforehand. They've been bringing up a lot of different messaging around different bloodlines, like O-type blood, for example, and how this dates back in time, how it's a survivor blood, and something about the efficiency of evolution or evolution itself, and animals as well. They've been showing me references to animals and their evolution versus extinction, all of that. So we do have the animal card. And then underneath that actually was the forest. So I'm keeping this because it's relevant. The forest. And that's where the animals live, right? Not always, but that's where we all came from. Actually, I had a synchronicity recently, a reference to we all come from the forest, actually, and coming out of the forest or going into the forest. I've also been seeing paths in the forest, trails, pathless woods, all of these different references have been coming up. Okay, so let's see. We've got the Six of Cups reversed. And I'm putting that by the animal. So I feel like, yeah, there's definitely, they're saying evolution and extinction. There's definitely something about evolution here to avoid extinction or like selection, something about selection, because that Seven of Cups energy is making me feel like we're streamlining something. We are making a way or making a pathway here in some regard to keep things moving or keep the ball rolling. Let me see what else we have. The Four of Pentacles reversed as well. Okay. Something about a genetic bank I'm hearing. It's like codes or DNA or the functioning of DNA and the genetic. I'm hearing genetic collaboration. Oh, genetic collaboration. I do have, I'm being drawn to this other animal deck that I have. So there's definitely something here about this animalness, and we are animals, lest we forget, right? Like it's important we remember that we are animals. We are existing within an animal form, our physical being. Okay, we have the pig. The pig came up from the Tea Leaf Oracle, which is a different deck in one of the readings I did recently for Pisces. Okay, hold on. And the rooster, the pig and the rooster. Well, these are both, I'm hearing barnyard. Yeah, these are both farm animals raised on farms. So not wild, farmed, cultivated. Ooh, genetic farming. Ooh, is that what we're talking about, Spirit? Is this what we're leading into? Five of Wands. And Ace of Cups. I just heard the word capitulate. Capitulate? One of those ones I'm going to have to look up again. They do this a lot, but they're expanding my vocabulary, that's for sure. Spirit has a much bigger vocabulary than I do. And the wolf. So the wildness, the howling at the moon, this desire for freedom. I'm hearing pack animals. Pack animals, running with the pack. Survival as a species and how community is so crucial to that. Something about isolation or isolated species. They're showing me the wolves in the forest. This eye almost even looks like a wolf's eye. The eye of the wolf instead of the eye of the tiger. The eye of the wolf. Seeing in the light of the moon. Seeing in the darkness. Being able to perceive something. Yeah, being able to perceive something. Being able to see something here. But I'm still not sure what this message is. Go back in with this one. Thank you. Can I get a clarifier on the wolf? They said he sits in the forest. The wolf sits in the forest. Okay, we have the Knight of Swords reversed and the Page of Pentacles. Something about illumination or elucidating. Illusory dating, and they're showing me like how pairs or species will pair up or mate, coming together to create, I'm hearing the word date, like dating or a date in time, I'm not sure. Okay, thank you. They clarified, they said predating. Before dating or predating time or predating something. They're saying something about a subspecies. They just said sub-caravan as well. Caravan or caravel, and something about rights of the species. Okay. Something about denominations of species as well. I feel like something's being offered here. Information that was hidden or was not revealed. Something that has, I'm hearing, at stakes. High stakes, or searching for something. I'm hearing prime meat. Oh, stakes, like steak, prime meat. They're saying new territory. Something about the wolves' hunting ground. And if the wolf can't find any steak or any meat in the forest, where's it going to go? It's going to start attacking the barnyard animals. Oh, okay. Something about privatization I just heard. Privatization. Who is the wolf here, Spirit? Or what is the wolf? What is this representing? Oh, they said archetypally the mastermind. Archetypally the mastermind. Who or what is the wolf? And is it benevolent or malevolent? Okay, we've got the Hierophant in reverse. This feels, I'm hearing mid-level. Something about corporations. They're saying welcome to the jungle, and something about like fear, in the face of fear, facing fear. And they're showing me like groups of people needing to come together. But the Hierophant here feels mid-level in the sense that it's neither benevolent nor malevolent. It's kind of ambivalent in the sense that it's just trying to survive. It doesn't really have an intention that is negative or positive. It's just trying to survive. And it's going to do whatever it needs to do that, which in some cases might appear or come off malevolent. Who is this though? What is this? I just heard the boss man, or the man, or maybe man in general, like humans. Page of Swords. I wanted to call it Ace of Swords, and the Emperor. Okay, yeah. The man. It's reminding me of that scene in School of Rock when teacher's trying to teach them. Yeah, the Hierophant is the teacher, right? The teacher's trying to teach them to oppose the man or to go against the man. And then they call the principal of the school the man, even though she's a woman. They're like, you're the man. And she takes it as a compliment, but it's actually like she's the control system in that network. I'm hearing intelligence network. And they're showing me neural fibers in the brain. 8 of Cups reversed. Ooh, they said plunging deeper, plunging into the pathless woods. Something about going into the unknown or exploring the inner eye, exploring some kind of psychic potential here in regard to the shadow, what's been hidden in the shadow or what's in the subconscious mind, or something in like the programming of the physical entity or being. There's a revolution or a revelation, or something is revolving and is revealed in that revolving. Information. Something about digression of DNA. So it's like DNA breaking down or not being able to function or to form itself or reform itself, I'm hearing. We've talked about mitochondrial DNA or mitochondrial cells and DNA production here in the past, because Spirit has brought me to that kind of information. So it seems like we're kind of going back there. Page of Wands. Page of Wands. 8 of Pentacles and the 5 of Swords reversed. Yeah, it feels like there's something that's really difficult to remake, or there's opposition Or they just keep saying the word degradation, like it's degrading in some way. I don't know if this is talking about like the quality of it getting worse. They just showed me products on like a fabrication line, and it's like the quality of the product is getting worse, or the quality of, again, the DNA trying to replicate itself is getting worse. It kind of feel, ooh, what the heck? I just heard depopulation, and they're showing me farmyard animals being brought forward for slaughter. And then I just heard deforestation as well. And I'm hearing academia, teachers, professors, learning about this. Something about a return to the wild nature. And I can't tell if that's good or bad. The context feels kind of difficult to pin down. Okay, they're showing me something about statistics or statistical studies, and they're saying quantifiable. It's like something will be something that was hard to pin down or hard to register because it was kind of hidden in this forest of the mind, or it was hidden where people couldn't find it or measure it or track it. There was no evidence, I'm hearing. There was no physical evidence. Thank you. It's going to be found, or it's going to be provided in some way. Like somebody might come forward with this evidence, or somebody might do a study on this. Maybe it's like an academic study in the wild, or an academic study in regard to blood or tissue. I'm hearing tissue. And it's going to prove something. This feels like a world prediction, actually. Feels like a world prediction. Something coming to light, or the truth coming out. Three of Swords. It feels like this truth will be painful to hear, but then I also just heard heal. So it's like it's painful to heal, but in hearing it, you're able to heal it, or we are collectively able to heal it somehow. I'm hearing return to your roots. Return to your roots. Seven of Pentacles, the Eight of Swords reversed. A return to the roots helps to re-establish or re-stabilize. Something about elucidating or illuminating the population. Something about population or population control. They're showing me migration. They've been showing me a lot of synchronicities about that for the past couple of weeks. I've been seeing so many themes about migration, human migration over the course of human evolution, and, you know, the Bering Land Bridge and getting across the bridge, or going by ship, migrating. And they've been showing me a lot of stuff to do with geese migration or birds migration, and how it's kind of like hardwired into their body. It's like instinct, and how they have these like pieces of metal in their brain to help them navigate geomagnetically. So there's something, it's like it's built in, it's hardwired into the system. And the man, if we're going to just look at the emperor as kind of like this faceless shadow man in control of everything, the world governments or whatever we're talking about here, it's like the power structures that be. It feels like there's been an intentional degradation of DNA to reduce this natural instinct to pursue something important. Maybe it's like a migration of the soul, a migration of this natural evolution of the species. Spiros. They're saying spiros. Greek. It sounds Greek. I don't know what spiros means. I should know. I'm half Greek, but I don't. Okay, they're showing me something about immortality and the rebirth, or rebirthing an organ, something about an organ donor or an organ transplant, or shifting something and being able to adapt or acclimate. I'm getting dizzy as I'm starting to talk about this, so it feels really kind of like the energy is shifting in some way. Even as I'm attempting to tap into it, it feels kind of ungrounding, and it's difficult to, and I'm hearing brace yourself. There could be something collectively coming that kind of challenges I'm hearing dismissive or dismissal that challenges what we believe or what we've been led to believe. I'm hearing accredited, something about a nation. It's like it'll be backed by some accredited source body. I'm hearing affiliate links, something about links in gender. I don't know what this is talking about. This is such a random reading. Affiliate links or links in gender. This feels very predictive. Like this is not a reading that's necessarily meant to involve things that are happening right now. It feels like this is something that's coming in the future. The Hermit and the Wheel of Fortune. There's that turning of the wheel. I felt that. And they've been bringing this card up a lot recently. So many of the past readings have featured this theme of this rotation or this cycle of time, destiny, and fate, and this shifting, this like natural cycle or natural rhythm of change. Sun and moon rotation, all of it is involved here. They're saying evolution of the species. Which species? Thank you. They clarified and just said human beings. So there may be some ancient knowledge that is being revealed, something that was hidden. They're saying behind enemy lines, and something about like false territory. And there may be some actual literal academic studies or scientific studies coming out in regard to blood adaptogens, is actually what Spirit just said. I was going to say like bloodlines or the evolution or like new DNA lines, old DNA lines, something about adaptogenic. They're saying adaptogenic. They said hidden in time. Hidden in time, looking back. The Hermit does look back at his life, and there's something about looking back in time. And they're saying something about forced perspective, and they're showing me that like if you were to look back in time to the history of the forest and where we came from in the wild of our ancestry, they have been showing me a lot of themes of like the evolution of man, you know, that imagery of the monkey turning into, I'm hearing Homo habilis. I don't know if that's an actual like Homo sapien, you know, and evolving from cavemen into modern day humans. There's something about this shift or a shift in the narrative around that. They're saying something about AI is connected to that. And they're showing me like the evolution of artificial intelligence or artificial consciousness, which I don't like, but something about psychic suppression. And they're saying it's in the bloodlines and that will be discovered or revealed. I'm hearing the word revoked, like there may be an attempt to revoke that information, to take it back, but it can't. Like once it's out, it spreads like wildfire. Yeah, I'm hearing the word gossip. It's like everybody's going to be talking about it, and it's going to be very pivotal in the shifting of consciousness into this new cycle. Age of Aquarius, I'm hearing. Yeah, Age of Aquarius, or that theme energetically of this collective stage of awakening where the truth is being revealed. And I'm seeing something, hold on, they just said nitpicking, not nitpicking, something about a needle in a haystack, being able to find the truth in a whole swath of disillusionment or dissolved, they're saying, false information. But they're showing me melting the straw and all that's left is the needle. So it's like all the false information is dissolved somehow or melts away, and all that's left is that core truth. And they're saying the needle of truth, and they're showing me a needle going into the blood vein. So there's definitely something here about the blood and the genetic evolution of the species. Something about the wild nature is very much involved here. They're saying imparting knowledge, something about, again, the instincts and the migration of the species. And I just heard intergalactic. And now I'm hearing the Beastie Boys song, Beastie Boys, intergalactic planetary. So there's something, maybe we're discovering DNA that comes from off planet. They keep saying Homo habilis, and I wish I had my computer out right now so I could search that, but I don't feel called to go get it because I would have to stop the flow of this channel, and I don't feel called to do that. So I'm just going to let it ride. Something about letting it slide. They're showing me somebody sliding down a hill, a muddy hill in the forest, like a ravine, but maintaining their stability despite the fact that they're kind of like surfing down this muddy hill is what I'm being shown. They're pointing me to the animal, and it's like keeping your grounding about you, being able to stay stable in times of instability or during decline, some kind of decline. They said a decline of integrity from the top down, and they're showing me like something about show business, something about academia. They're showing me like professors in schools. They're showing me people in government. I'm seeing military. This is all flashing before my eyes so quickly. But they're saying taking up and taking up notice. I'm seeing protesters with picket signs, something about strikes or striking out on their own. They're saying striking out on their own, something about barnyard animals going free. They're saying harvestability, no more, no more, no more. And they're saying show them the door, something about escaping or an escape hatch, an escape route, being able to get out of this like matrix system of harvesting, perhaps, you know, like think the matrix where everybody's locked in these plugged into these tubes where it's like this, like batteries, basically, harvesting of energy or even of flesh. Spirit just said, ugh, harvesting of flesh, ugh. Yeah, they're saying like laws of the jungle don't pertain to you anymore. Oh, interesting. Because in the jungle, anything goes. And they're saying something about bloodshed. And it's like, hold on, they just showed me blood and then a shed as well. After they said bloodshed, blood and then a shed, something about DNA matching. And the shed, what does the shed represent? Like a warehouse or a workhouse or something where something is stored, right? We store things outside in the shed. They're saying she shed. So maybe it's something about female mitochondria, or not mitochondria, female chromosomes. They're saying female DNA will be discovered. Pre-Andes, they just said, pre-Andes. I don't know what that means. Like they have been showing me references to the Andes Mountains. I'm hearing preeclampsia. That's something to do with pregnancy, isn't it? And like high blood pressure or something. But they're showing me clamping, like a clamp that's clamping down on something that prevents the blood from shedding, right? So it's like, say, for example, you hit an artery, you need to bind it, you need to constrict and limit the blood flow so that there's a limitation of blood loss. They're saying bottleneck. Okay, so it's like to limit some kind of shedding or blood shedding. We as a collective, we as a species are deciding, is what Spirit just said. Like collectively, this is like collective world soul. The collective unconscious is deciding to clamp down on something to prevent further loss, to prevent further bloodshed from occurring. They said something about witches in the woods or witchy season and the woods and the wolf, the woods and the wolf. They said what was hidden in the dark. They've been saying that a lot lately. What was hidden in the shadow, what was hidden in the dark will be revealed in the light. They said it will be all right. It will be all right. And something about staunching the flow of blood. They're saying applying pressure and also then they said stopping the pressure. And they're showing me stoppering a bottle. Something that was hermetically sealed being opened, or the lid coming off the jar, like the truth coming out. Or something that was compact. They're saying compact and integrated. They're showing me an SUV, like a compact vehicle. Could apply to the vehicle, the body, the vehicle. Compact SUV, SUV. Something about an IV. And they're showing me ivy growing up a tree and the veins growing in that similar. They're saying branching. Okay, so identification of branched lines in the DNA. Something about ancestry is involved with this, but it's ancient ancestry and original humans. They're saying, okay, thank you. Original humans. They're taking me back to the beginning, and they're saying something about the wild wolf and bad wolf. That's a reference to Doctor Who, Bad Wolf. It's like the human Hold on, they're saying the human being sees the whole truth. The human being sees the whole truth. Something about a ruling, a statesman, and female proposition. I don't know what that means. I don't know what any of that means. But this is a prophetic message. So they're saying coming to a conclusion, a new conclusion. New evidence, new evidence, new evidence, revealed, revealed, revealed. What was concealed? They're showing me like hidden or classified files coming out. They're saying new studies, new scopes of thought, new visionaries, something about visionary principles. They're showing me Einstein, like new mathematical theorems or new theories about the evolution of the species. Okay, we have the temple. They started singing Your Body is a Wonderland. Your body is a wonderland. Okay, so the temple, the body is the temple. They're showing me wide open spaces, multiple faces. Wide open spaces, multiple faces, and the vessel. Yeah, the body. The body, the vessel, the temple. They're saying the wild man, the pilgrim. Seeking further knowledge, they said, seeking further knowledge. Something about investigation or investigating. They said it has been underway. We have the lover here, something about mating or mating cycles, coming together through time, they just said. Coming together through time. Hold on, they're pointing me back to the Hierophant card. Coming together through time. Oh, something about a union. The Hierophant is also the teacher. It can refer to tradition. Something about beliefs or knowledge, collective knowledge or collective themes, the understanding shifting. So basically, I think what they're saying here is that something big is going to be revealed in regard to human. They're saying homo habilis again, or homo habilis. They're saying something about bonobo monkeys. They're showing me like an inflated snout or nose. Mating rituals or they're saying hybridization. They're showing me the eye, hybridization, a realization of hybrid genes or blood pool. They're showing me AB, ABC, AB blood maybe, to see something about the shape of the letter C. Complex or complete. They said total annihilation, diverted. They're showing me the word divergent, and they're showing me how that's related to some kind of a movie, Divergent, the movie Divergent. I don't think I've seen that. Maybe this has something to do with neurodivergence. I don't know. I'm just speculating here, but I'm going to keep bringing through what they're talking about. Something about limitation of lines, like bloodlines or limitation of lines. They're not clarifying what they mean. They're just saying limitation of lines. I think it means bloodlines. Something about chaos theory. They just said chaos theory. They're showing me like the butterfly effect. And they're saying migration again, butterflies migrate, right? Yes, that was another reference that they showed me. They're saying the flight path, but they were showing me migrations of the monarch butterfly, going from the North Americas down to South America. I have been seeing reference to North and South America as well, and North and South poles, Antarctica, and the Arctic. They've been showing me those references as well. Okay, so this is a lot of information to unpack, and I don't quite know how to interpret it just yet, but there's something about the crossing of these keys that they just drew my attention to, the crossed keys. Cross-species keys. Okay, thank you. Cross-species keys. There's definitely something here about hybridization. They're saying intergalactic hybridization. This is kind of making me think, you know what? It's making me think of like how there's... hold on. They said worms in the bloodline, and they're showing me like woodworms. Ooh, Inchworms, something about worms. Insectoid. Okay, thank you. Insectoid. Infiltration. Something about mass media. En masse, they're saying, and they're showing me, they said debilitation, but they're showing me like images on a screen, like watching a TV and looking at it and going, that doesn't make sense. So I think there's going to be a lot of people questioning what the media is sharing, and they're more likely to go out and do their own research, Spirit just said. I'm hearing pushed to evolve. Pushed to evolve. Something about evolving past a limit. It's like there was a false ceiling is what they're showing me on the capacity for humans to evolve their consciousness, and the physical body reflected that, or there's something about the physical body that was tampered with to prevent, they said the aging delay. They're showing me Benjamin Button aging in reverse. The aging delay. And they're saying the word divergent again. They just said mind mapping as well, mind mapping, and there's something about the chicken, the cock, the rooster. They said spiritual enlightenment, and they're showing me the rooster heralding a new day. The chicken crows. They're showing me, like, again, this binding of blood flow, like to keep blood in something or to prevent it from spilling out. Ugh. Something about a ringleader revealed. King of Swords, the truth is coming out. It will come out. Something about publication or publicly announced. They're showing me an announcer in a stadium giving a speech. Okay, we have the Hanged Man. Something about the, hold on, they just said the Hanged One. No, they're saying the Hanged One, and they're showing me a hangnail. A hangnail on the finger. The Hanged One. I have no idea what that means. The Nine of Swords. They're saying territory. Terror. Terror. Tory. Terror story. Something about psychic terrorism. What? Four of Cups. They're saying a convoluted message, and it's not this one. It's, I mean, this feels a little convoluted to me, but they have, the Spirit has a reason for doing everything. I'm hearing being put on notice, and there's something about this like global mass media machine that's being put on notice right now by Spirit or from Spirit, like the one God source is saying enough is enough. And there's something about these messages that they've been trying to hide, filter, or dilute the truth by making the message so convoluted and filled with fear that people can't interpret it correctly, or people can't find what is true. I'm hearing succumbing to what? Something about a truth disease. They're showing me fleas and a flea circus. Okay, hold on. They said flea circus of the mind. Something about fleeing the circus of the mind. Something about a psychic disease. Okay. The Moon, the Two of Swords, the Ten of Wands, the Ace of Swords. I wanted to call the Ten of Wands the Ten of Pentacles. Fleeing the circus of the mind, something about a mental trap and getting out of that, breaking the tone, or breaking something about a mid-level executive. They're saying breaking fast. They're showing me a car slamming on its brakes, and they showed me a plate of breakfast foods like bacon and eggs. Now they're showing me that plate shattering, but the food being intact. This is so cryptic. Even the word cryptic reminds me of the word cryptid. Something about squamish, I just heard, squamish. Ace of Swords. Something about native tribes, Navajo. they're saying navigate, and they're showing me a gateway. Okay, now we also have the 3 of Pentacles, the 9 of Pentacles, and the 10 of Cups, although I wanted to call this the 10 of Swords. That's so weird. That's been happening in some of the readings lately. I've noticed that 2 times now in this reading and 2 times in another reading that happened on my other channel. But there's something here that I'm hearing growing back better. They're showing me healing and regeneration of flesh, something about overcoming some kind of a false stamp or the mark of the beast in a disease. They're showing me like a return to this oasis or this Eden or Edenic coding, or like something was harmful. I'm not sure. They're showing me splash, and then they said splash theory, and they're showing me something that was harmful thrown into the bloodlines and it made a splash. Or maybe this is talking about the information about this DNA imprinting or change that will make a splash on the headlines or something like that. Headlines, phrenology. Yeah, something about psychic disorders. And they're saying it's connected to something in the bloodline that was damaged along the way. And there's something about a fearful return. And I'm hearing the word ambassador. Hold on, that one card fell on the ground. 10 of Cups fell on the ground. It's coming up in reverse. So, they're showing me like false families falling. False families falling. That's what they said. These people who have been overtaking the world, they're showing me almost like these really, really rich people in their mansions who have built up this legacy based on false wealth and false truths and lying, cheating, stealing, harming people. I'm hearing blood abuse. They're falling down. Something about falling down, leaves on the ground. Okay. The injustices are about to be revealed. I don't know the timeline on this or when it's going to happen, but these injustices are going to be revealed. Something about harvest season. I don't know if that's talking about autumn or fall, which we are in right now. I'm filming this in October like 4th, 2025, I think. And yeah, the Tower and justice reversed. So the injustices that these people have, I'm hearing getting what they deserved, and something about just desserts. And it's like they're going to get exactly what they've served. Their karma is going to cause them to fall down. Something about being able to avoid their karma for a long period of time. Why was that? They're saying false timelines. So it's kind of like if they would, okay, I see. So it's kind of like if the powers that be were able to create these false timelines for themselves to live within, and for the organic human spirit and its flesh, body, or vessel, its temple, to somehow like trick those beings, those powerful, authentic soul beings, into limiting themselves and perpetuating that false timeline, then what would happen is they could serve out all of these harsh things. I'm hearing criticisms or critics. They could serve out or live out all of these very demonic type of things that they were doing and not have that karma fall on their heads. They're showing me Anne Boleyn getting her head chopped off. Reminds me of Al Gore type energy, the demon comet, bloodshed, war, all of that, something about a prophecy. And it's like in that false timeline or AI false timeline, transhumanism also coming up, they would be able to escape their fate in terms of the karma that they had created, because it's like they're playing within their own game. So they rigged the game, they cheated the system to be able to avoid any of that karmic downfall. But the thing that's happening now is that it's like those two timelines are shifting, the organic timeline and the false one. And it's like the organic one is sort of like causing the false one to fall apart. And so all of the people who did horrible things to create that timeline and to uphold it are going to fall as well, because everything that they've done is now being accounted for in divine justice, and the law of order is restored. I'm hearing, thank you, Spirit. The law of order is restored, and I'm hearing reformed. Some of those souls that are in that timeline may seek I'm hearing retribution and reclamation. I was going to say they might seek reconciliation, or they might seek to reform themselves at soul level rather than face that judgment, or they may be sent back to origin, maybe sent back to source to be recycled, karmically recycled. We have the dragonfly and the raven poking out from underneath it as well. Illusions, mass delusions, mass distortions to the psychic fields and to the body, and how that relates to the psychic brain. I'm hearing the psychic brain. That's all going to come to light. It's a time of great change, Spirit is saying. This has all been prepared for, planned, being undertaken. The rabbit and the hare, they have been showing me, and the firefly, a flickering light, comes to light, comes to light. Okay, standing together, they're saying, standing together with the flamingo. But the rabbit feels like something elusive is revealed. I'm hearing tears in the heart, tears in the flesh, healed, healed, healed. They're showing me genetic lines healing retroactively or retrospectively. They're showing me like going back in time and healing these ancestral roots. They're saying ancient timelines being healed. Okay, ancient timelines being healed. Something about regression. Not regressive in this context, regression, maybe past life regression or timeline regression or ancestral or some kind of regression. And it creates this healing. Collectively, they're saying collective unconscious. Okay, so we're doing this collectively at this unconscious level. All of humanity is involved in this process, whether they're aware of it or not. But there's this collective regression going on to find the fallen, they said to find the fallen foes. And they said FOE, not as in my foe, my enemy, but like FOE. What does that stand for? Friend on something, friend on. They're just showing me a fence, friend on a fence, but that doesn't complete the acronym, but something about an abbreviation or a truncated species entirely, like there was a blip in time. They're showing me something about the missing link. They're showing me the Master Sword, like Zelda and Link, something about, again, going back in time to put the pieces back together to understand something. And there's a completely new context that comes from this. And this shift in collective consciousness takes place. They're showing me millions and millions and millions of views. And they're showing me this sword face down into being planted into the ground. Like Excalibur, the truth being revealed into the earth, millions and millions of views. So there could be like a time, they're showing me a timetable. There could be a period of time coming up where this information is going to come out in some like public news sites, or global news is going to be revealed. And those videos are going to get millions of views, millions and millions and millions of views, Spirit is saying. So this is they keep saying it's going to spread like wildfire, this information. And it's going to reveal something about our true connection to other species. Oh, wow. They're saying like communication between the species, and they're saying interbreeding. I just heard disclosure and local news networks, something about nudes or nudists, like a getting back to the original form, the naked vessel, the truth revealed, the naked truth. Okay. Something about clothing and the Emperor's new clothes. I was going to say the Emperor's new groove, but the Emperor's new clothes, everybody convinces the Emperor that he's wearing clothes, but he's not, because he's surrounded by yes men. Okay, interesting. He's naked the whole time, but they convince him it's like the finest cloth. So it's like something of like being gaslit, but the truth is going to be revealed. It's going to be seen in the light of day, Spirit just said. Seen, and they're showing me a scene, like SCENE, a scene. Making a scene, or it's going to hit the scene hard. But this is intended to happen. They're showing me a hammer coming down. The hammer, or the force of God intervening. Something about collective decisions, or decision making, or decision makers. King of Wands, Queen of Wands, Eight of Wands. Oh my God. Like, I'm hearing furthering the project. Something about a project from NASA. Something about telepathic communication or connection, or like a language gap being bridged between species here on the planet. The whale, okay, they did show me a video recently about AI being used to interpret whale communication and speech, and being able to actually speak to the whales, but not necessarily understanding what it means. But they have like a very specific language. I'm hearing the word codex. So there's some kind of like an unlocking of the codex here in terms of interspecies communication, and how this allows us to, hold on, they just said de-investing in the theory of something about Darwinian theory, survival of the fittest, okay? De-investing from that. And they're showing me like coming together. They're saying hybridization again. And they said it was intentional. They're showing me fox fur, the fur of the fox. Oh yeah, look at his head even looks kind of like a phrenology map of the brain, of the head, which was like an old school sort of pseudoscience that was used to predict certain things about the self. It's kind of like palm reading. But there's something about neuroscience involved in this as well. The psychic brain, they keep saying it, the psychic brain. And they're showing me that wolf howling at the moon again. Something about a frequency shift. Something about the north node, south node, north pole, south pole. A frequency shift. They said it needs to happen. It's part of the collective evolution. Okay, is there anything else you want to say here, Spirit? They said it might be quite ungrounding for the masses to hear. They said, please hold space. Something about, again, the human race. And they said, it's not a race. Something about finding our place. It's not a race. And they're showing me like a racer trying to get to the finish line first to get that first place trophy or first place medal. And it's like, it's not a race. It's not a competition. They're saying, okay, right. 5 of Wands. It's not a competition. Race wars, they're saying race wars. Yeah, it's not a race, it's not a war, it's not a competition. They're showing me something about etymology or how things are all connected, or this like root origin. It's a family, they said. It's a family. They said a family in time. Okay, let me get some final closing messages here from the Tea Leaf Oracle. The owl, good advice from a wise person. Someone's going to speak the truth. It is like this wisdom. They said prophecy, and I'm also hearing professor. They're pointing me back to the Hierophant, and they're saying the herald. Prophecy, some professor is going to say something. What's the advice here, Spirit? Because I'm noticing it says good advice. Scissors, they said don't give up, but it says on it disappointment in some affair, but they said don't give up. Something about cutting the genetic lines was done. Ooh, this could even be talking about gene splicing or like CRISPR type technology, gene cutting, like cutting into the DNA and switching genes around. Something about bipolar and pools of consciousness. Okay, we also have Caterpillar. Things will not always be this way. A change is coming. They're showing me the caterpillar evolving from the chrysalis or into the chrysalis. And that's like the midpoint. Something about matchmaking they're saying as well. Yeah, the King and Queen of Wands and the 8 of Wands, matchmaking. Connections, telepathic connections, and the making of the butterfly. And they're showing me the growing of the wings and how something about an inlay. It's like it was always in there. It was in the blueprint. It was always in the DNA. It's going to be discovered. They're going to find it. It's going to come out. It cannot be repressed. They've known this for a long time, is what Spirit is. I'm just repeating everything they're saying right now. They've known this for a long time. Something about wielding two different types of metal together. Yeah, like fusion or fusing or hybridization. Like there's some kind of connection that is made here or an understanding. And it's going to test the mettle of humanity. Can we be patient? Spirit just said, can we be patient? I think so. I hope so. It's not a race, they said, and they're showing me rats in a maze, a rat race. It's not a race. Here's the pig. This is what it came out in that other reading. This is the card I was referencing when this one came out. They're showing me the pig and the wolf. Oh my God, the big bad wolf. Little piggy, may I come in? I'll blow your house down. Build it stronger. Don't build it out of the hay, right? Don't build it out of the hay. Find the needle, make it out of metal. Ooh, interesting. Not even out of brick. Because you know the three houses of the little pigs, one's made of straw, one's made of wood or sticks, one's made of bricks. They're saying like make it out of metal. A house made of metal. Something about a metallic frequency. Metatron is also coming through. Metatron, Metatronic. Something about Metatronic reversals being revealed. The pig, beware of greed. Yeah, these greedy people. And they're showing me like a farm of pigs and the wolves being the tenders or the farmers of those pigs. Like I'm hearing harboring, something about harboring. Pearl Harbor, the wall, misunderstanding. Great Wall of China, something about being able to see something from space, something about satellites. And they're saying knowledge, satellite knowledge. What is satellite knowledge? Maybe like a wider scope of knowledge or a knowledge that is outside of the orbit of this earth. Okay. Final closing messages. We have the ladder, climbing towards success. Jacob's ladder, something about ascension, the spine, spinal tapping, spinal coating, spider, something about a spider climbing the ladder, and needle and a thread. They have been showing me a lot of synchronicities and references lately to threading the needle, getting through the center point, I'm hearing. And again, there's that needle in the haystack and the thread of fate or the thread of destiny, depending on how we're looking at it. And it's being able to get through that center point, something about centrifugal force. Love is underneath. Love will heal all wounds. Woman, dealings or relationship with a woman. And I'm seeing being brought back together. Something about mating season is open. And it used to be hunting season when meeting. Oh, shit. They just showed me that mating season was when the hunters would come out. Because that's when the species were the most vulnerable, and they're showing it to me like souls coming together, soulmates, and something about karmic twin flames I'm hearing. I don't like that verbiage or that usage of that word, but that's what they said. Like twin flames. I don't like using twin flames because it's been so psyoped and trashed. But anyway, they're basically showing me that like when certain souls would be drawn together at certain times in a cyclical or cyclical nature, they would systematically be ruthlessly attacked. And that ruthlessness is now spelling their own demise. And I'm hearing danger. Something about Rodney Dangerfield. Rod and staff. Harp, great happiness. Harp. Right. That's how they created the false timelines. HARP, like HARP. Speaking of acronyms, it's like colliding atoms together. Something about February being significant here. February. Yeah, there's the staff. I just said rod and staff. You'll be taken care of in difficult times. So rod and staff codes. That's feminine, masculine polarity. It's also connected to North and South Pole. And this mating season spiritually is going to be huge because the hunters can't come out to play, and they're showing me hunters getting arrested by police. This is all highly metaphorical, symbolic, but they're showing me like the hunters, something about the wild way or the wilderness way and divine order and divine law. They're being implicated. And divine justice is applied, is what I just heard. And they're showing me a salve being applied to skin. Something about moisture in the skin. And they're saying the word kin and friendship. Kin and friendship. Family, brotherhood of man. Something about coming together. Seeing things from a higher perspective. The third eye awakening of the planet starts with being able to see uncomfortable truths. Something about swimming through the darkness. The zebra keeps coming up as well, I've noticed. Something about stripes or blending in or camouflage. Alligator, reptilians. Species demise. And there's the fox. The fox's tail, they said. The fox's tail. And there's the whale. The fox's tail and the whale. The fox's story, the fox's tail, the fox's story, the story of the whale, communication, whale species, aquafarian races, the eagle, golden eagle grid could be involved in this. Okay, so there's a lot here. They're saying nation under siege. Nation under sea. Oh, Atlantis. The fall of Atlantis, the Atlantean false timelines. Okay, thank you, Spirit. They're showing me the owl again. Something about Hedra, headwaters, Hydra, the Hydra. And they're saying wise person avoids the conflict. And they're showing me in the movie, the Disney movie Hercules, when he keeps trying to cut off the heads, but they keep resprouting more. And the wise thing to do is to stop cutting off the heads and crush the entire thing under the falling rocks. And they're showing me like these rocks coming down the mountain, like an avalanche onto this Hydra. And it's like all of these rocks, or I'm hearing seeds of consciousness crushing the Hydra. They're saying Hydra, Hitler. Whew. Okay. Something about eugenics, a totalitarian state, something about totally involved, the Wheel of Fortune again, the snake and the hawk. It's time. They said this prophecy has been fulfilled once before, but it's time and time again. It comes back, or they said, arises. It arises. And they're showing me something about the rising of the sun and a nodal point. The rising of the sun and a nodal point, they're saying shift in frequency. The sun returns. They're showing me a lobster and a butterfly, like overlaid on top of each other. Like there's a lobster and then there's a butterfly on its back. So it's like a lobster with butterfly wings. So weird. Something about the return of the king. It makes me think of Lord of the Rings, but I feel like this is the return of king consciousness. They're saying false tyranny smashed to pieces. They're saying the true wolf returns, not the bad wolf, the true wolf. And this feels like, they're showing me a male wolf and a female wolf. Something about a guardian path or a guardian guarding. The male wolf guards the female wolf and she protects his neck. Interesting. The neck again, the throat, the head. Yeah, something about the head of the beast. And they're showing me the tail. North node, south node, the nodes, Rahu, Ketu, past fate versus divine destiny. That's what the last message was talking about here. Destiny overriding fate. The tail is fate. The head is destiny. They're saying collective messengers making their mark. They're showing me an eye. I'm seeing something about mark, maker's mark. I think that's a brand of alcohol. It's got like a red wax seal that comes down the top of the bottle, the bottleneck. The red wax seal, kind of like blood or the root chakra, a seal on the root chakra. Sealed documents. They're showing me like CIA documents coming out that were sealed, that are once again being revealed. So maybe they were revealed in some other timeline, or like they were revealed before, but then they were repressed. They're coming back out again. Something about compression. compression of the lungs. They're showing me CPR, being brought back to life, restarting the heart. I'm hearing Kickstart My Heart by Motley Crue. And I'm hearing Shot Through the Heart, but you're too late. You give love a bad name. Bad Wolf gave love a bad name. And the collective heart is being restarted. They're showing me something about compression wounds. And they're showing me a lightning bolt to the chest, restarting the heart, the collective consciousness, they're saying, and the heart restarts and starts beating again. They're saying the beating drum, the coming of the beating drum. They're showing me a medicine wheel, natives beating the drum, something about the whale prophecy, natives, whale prophecy, the owl and the rabbit, something about a totem pole, top of the totem pole, and something about making its way down the ladder. And then they just showed me these scissors, like they're saying Golden Gate scissors, and they're showing me like red tape or like a red ribbon. And it's kind of like when the mayor of the city goes and cuts the ribbon to celebrate its official opening. Yeah, they're saying opening of the classified records. And something about the digression of the species. And I feel like people are going to be enlightened, but also angered, but intrigued. I'm getting like all of this mix of emotions as humans collectively start to intake this message. Who is it? I'm just asking my throat. Who is it brought forward from? They're saying the messengers will tell the tale. So there's definitely like multiple messengers. They're saying all over the earth, multiple species investigations, and they're saying found out. Six of Pentacles and the Two of Wands reversed. They're saying mismatched and mishmash. Mismatched, mishmash. So something was added in that created like a switch up in the DNA, because they're showing me like genes, or I don't know, alleles, or I don't know too much about DNA. I will do more research, but there's something about like the switching or transference of certain chromosomes or genes, and like they were all mixed up and they need to be put back into divine order. They are. Healing, hope, regeneration, North Node, following that North Star towards that collective destiny of enlightenment. They're saying new timeline, new paradigm. New timeline, new paradigm. Something about fruit of the loom. Reminds me of Mandela effects, the cornucopia, abundance, but also the fruit of the loom. It can be a euphemism for like the seeding of life. You know, the fruit of the loom, the genitals. They're saying the fruit of the womb, and they're saying no country for old men, and something about the children of men. Something about population and selection. Dark woman. This feels like some kind of black magic grids. The well, family wishes come true. I just got real dizzy and nauseous. Some like dark feminine energy here. Not like, the key, successful outcome to a problem. We're finding the key. Something February, the key, February. Okay. Something about sexuality involved in this, and mating. Something about false fathers. They're saying contemplate, think about this. They're showing me a lightning bolt. Zeus. Yeah, there's a lot coming through. Some of it I don't want to say. They're saying paternity tests, something about like how Zeus used his power to, let's say, grape human women. Okay. You see what where I'm getting? They're showing me like berserkers in war, bloodlust, something about Sekhmet, something about Egyptian prophecies. Something about blood that was spilled or will be spilled, and they're saying staunching the flow again. This feels, they're saying synced up or syncopated, something connected to Holocaust, Ayani massacre. Yeah, okay. Heavy message, but ultimately I feel a lot of hope coming from this because there's enlightenment around these issues, and this is creating a collective shift in consciousness. Basically, I think that's what Spirit's getting at here, because that's the sense that I'm getting intuitively from what they're bringing through. Like the information itself feels a little daunting or a little overwhelming or a little kind of all over the place. It is a bit convoluted, but they said it's going to make sense later. So I always trust them when they say that, because it always does. At least from my experience working with them, it always ends up making sense later because they can see further ahead in the timeline, and they give pieces that don't make sense until you see the full context, but it's like we're building this puzzle and we're putting things together in the DNA so that we can see the big picture of what it's actually meant to do and what we are meant to do with it as or when we are here. Something about Boaz, Ruth and Boaz, something about biblical prophecies, Moses. And they're saying maker of rights. Yeah, something about the 10 commandments or something like that. Okay. I'm going to leave it there, guys, because this is a lot and it's already 1:06. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there. I love you. I don't know what else to say, so I'll just leave it. I love you guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.